Hi everyone, my name is Matthew, and today we're going to talk about camels. The story of the camel begins over 40 million years ago in North America in an environment you'd never expect. The rainforest. This is also where the first ancestors of the camels, the Proteolopus, evolved in. They appeared in the fossil records around 45 million years ago in what were once the rainforests of southwestern North America. Today the Southwest makes us think of red rocks and cactus, but during the Eocene epoch, it was very rainy. The Proteolopus was very well suited for this environment because it was an aerodactyl, a hoofed mammal whose members today include the antelope, deer, and pigs. Proteolopus is also considered one of the earliest known tylopods because it had many of the group's more subtle but defining traits, like having incisor teeth in the upper jaw and sharp tusk-like teeth in the lower jaw. And speaking of its teeth, there's one more very weird thing about this very tiny camel. A closely related group of aerodactyls called the ruminants have four-chambered stomachs which help them digest grasses, whereas Proteolopus and its descendants had to make do with less efficient three-chambered stomachs. So Proteolopus was more of a browser, preferring a diet of soft leaves and fruit over grass, a preference that will play a big role in its evolutionary story. Sadly, our little camel didn't make it out of the Eocene. Instead, it had a cousin, which was better suited to the mosaic forests and grasslands that were starting to transform North America. This cousin was the slightly larger Proboscidean, which showed up about 37 million years ago. Proboscidean had long, slender limbs, good for running on more open terrain, but like Proteolopus, it still walked on hooves rather than toe pads. Fossils of Proboscidean have been found across western North America in a great range of habitats, from wooded grasslands to short grass prairies. But we can tell by its teeth, specifically its shorter molars, that it still relied on leaves as its main food source, rather than grass. Now, Proboscidean disappears from the fossil record around 33 million years ago, and like the Proteolopus, that marked the end of its lineage. But other lineages continue to thrive as the shrubs and trees of the Oligocene turned into the open, grassy Miocene. This is the time where it turned into the camelid explosion. In the Miocene, camels reached their peak of diversity, where nearly 30 genera roamed all over North America. This explosion in diversity saw the development of 4 different subfamilies, including the one that led to all modern camels, Camelinae. And while these families had a lot of differences, they also had one major thing in common: they didn't walk on tiptoes anymore. For instance, fossils of long-necked Camelius have been found in deposits from this time. And in addition to its kind of giraffe-like features and impressive height, this animal was notable because it was one of the first to have feet like those of modern camels. While early camelids walked on the tip of their hoofed toes, Camelius walked on the padded bottoms of its feet. It had relatively short toes with ankle bones that splayed out at the base, suggesting that its toes spread apart and were supported by large pads. And these new feet were a great adaptation for its new environment. Because the Camelius browsed on the open savanna, a lot like a modern giraffe was, where trees are few and far in between, it had a lot of ground to cover in its search for leaves. But the way this camel looked and lived also brought another new innovation. It gave a whole new way of walking. In a pacing gait, the front and back legs on the same side move at the same time, rather than opposite. This keeps those long legs from knocking into each other as the camel speeds up, which in turn allows for longer strides that conserve energy. But the pacing gait also makes the animal a lot less stable, which is why most four-legged mammals don't use it. And this is where those wide, flat toe pads come in handy. They help stabilize the big, heavy animal as they swayed from side to side in search of food. Megatylopus was one of the biggest camels ever, at 3.5 meters tall. And Megatylopus is also one of the first camels that we're pretty sure had other famous traits of camels: a hump. It had spines on the vertebrae just below its neck that were incredibly long, perfect for supporting a fat lump of tissue. But while Megatylopus wandered far and wide within North America, a close relative would be the first to leave the continent. Sometime in the Miocene, Camelius crossed the Bering Land Bridge into Asia, changing the course of camel history. The Camelius is the first camel to evolve outside of North America, and it and its descendants are now known as Old War camels. And that's finally when camels found their favorite travel companion, us. And that's because of all the features that made camels so good at adapting to harsh ecosystems. Their size, their pacing gait, their splayed toes, and for some, their humps, made them useful companions to humans throughout the ages.